Okay guys, welcome to week 5. I know the last week was really tough. I'm sorry, we're sorry. We're gonna get through this together, okay? I know it's really tough. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. And yes, this week we're gonna be working more with React, guys. There's a lot of complicated behavior that we haven't even gotten into yet. And we need to get into this stuff. We're gonna talk about the next couple weeks in this presentation. Okay, over the next couple of weeks, what are we going to be doing? This week, we're going to be looking at a preview of the things that we've looked at over the last week, and we're going to be looking at state and properties a lot more thoroughly, okay? Guys, state and properties have a lot of edge cases in them, okay? We tried to give you guys some insight into some of the edge cases that we have, that we normally encounter, but there are a couple more. Once again, we're gonna talk about we're gonna learn how to call an API and display that information. Because remember guys, we're working in information technology. Everything that we deal with is gonna be some form of data. That's all it is. It might be data about how this page is displayed. It might be data about the user's posts. It might be data about the current state of the game. It might be some data that we define, an array that holds the game, information about the data, about the game. Okay, so this week specifically, today we're gonna be working with, we're gonna be reviewing our IMDB clone, and we're gonna add movie trailers. Who here did movie trailers? Okay, we only got Qua. Okay, tomorrow we're gonna be working with tic-tac-toe. This one is a very simple application. Simple. Well, it's actually a little tricky if we want to do it correctly. And as we walk through the lab, guys, tomorrow, we're gonna get I hope that we all get a deeper understanding of state. On Wednesday, we're gonna be making tic-tac-toe with an API and writing to an API. We're gonna update data on a server that's somewhere on the internet. Okay, we're gonna update data that's on a computer that's on the internet. That's all a server is. So far, all of our servers have been run on our same machine. Our same machine has been our server and our client. But one day, we're gonna be dealing with a server that isn't ours. Well, it might be ours, but the thing is it's not gonna be on our same computer. And then on Thursday and Friday, we're going to go through our group project, which is a Tumblr clone. Who here has used Tumblr? Yeah. I've used it before, like many years ago, but I haven't used it in a long time.
What does Tumblr do?
Tumblr is kind of like Instagram, I think, with like kind of like Facebook posts. I'm not really sure. It's got like a lot of pictures, and then people like. I think they can share too. I don't know. It's been years since I've used Tumblr. Some of the more advanced stuff that we're going to be talking about is React Router. You guys can see that on most websites. We're not doing Tumblr? Okay, we're changing. Okay, GitHub issues. But guys, pay attention to the route up here, okay? Guys, this is called a route or a URI, unique resource identifier, a URI up here. Pay attention how in the URL, if we click on one of these links, everything at the dashboard is going to change. Did you guys see that? We went from dashboard to courses/39. So, as someone who understands REST APIs, we can determine a lot of things by simply looking at a URI. And that's what React Router is going to help us understand. So, specifically, something that we can think of right here is the courses is the name of a resource. A resource can be users, a resource can be movies, it can be a lot of different things, anything. And the number right here is the ID. This is the ID of the course inside of our database. And as we get familiar with React Router, we're gonna understand this more. And as we get familiar with REST, we're gonna understand how to deal with these resources. After that, we're going to be working with unit testing, writing tests which which can tell the program what it is we expect to have happen. Questions, Kwa? I think next week 6, right? Week after. This is next week. My bad. Next, we're gonna be working with Redux, guys. We've been working with a very simplified version of state so far. A very simplified version of state. When we get to more complicated versions of state, we're gonna be. I'm gonna introduce you to more advanced tools. Right here, we have something called React Native Debugger. It has a global representation of state right here. And you can see that there's a lot more stuff that we have to have in our user object. Token, maybe profile photo URL, maybe a push token. Does anyone here know what a push token is? Anyone here know what a push token is? A push token is a token that lets a server push notifications to us. So, for example, sometimes you guys might see like these pop-ups in the top right of your windows on your desktop. Yeah, we have to have that token in order to push notifications to a user. Those notifications that pop up here, or on your phone, those notifications that will come in every now and then. Hey, we got a new order. Hey, we got a new special. Okay, so those are certain things that we haven't touched yet. And then lastly, we're going to be talking about front-end developer practice interviews. I think Charles will get more into detail about that as they come, right? All right. So they don't get too let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Where are we right now? We've been here, what, 4 weeks now, guys? What do we know? Who learned something these last 4 weeks? Who learned something? I should see everyone's hands up. Everyone. Just pretend you learned something. Pretend we taught you something. Guys, over the last 4 weeks, we've learned HTML and CSS. You could potentially work at like a WordPress company or a small web development firm. There are people that just do HTML and CSS all day. We're at the part right now where we're learning how to be a front-end web developer using React. We can create very powerful front-end UIs using this, very lightning fast. Has anyone here noticed how much faster React is? Whenever we click a movie category, it's almost instantaneous, right? When we filter, it's super fast, right? Yeah, that's what we've been doing. Oops. After that, we're going to be building using Python to write APIs. So you know how we can go to what? The moviedb dot something? What's the URL, guys? You guys remember? Who here remembers? React movies. So we're going to something like, all right, so we're going to API, themoviedb.org. That's what Python and working with backends is going to help us, building APIs. We're going to be able to create a website, maybe, I don't know, CoderSchool.vn, and we can add a resource to it, and then we can be able to add some stuff at the end. Ultimately, what this means, guys, the point of being able to build APIs is to be able to serve data to all types of people wherever they are in the world, and to have the data be consistent. Okay, we want to have we need to have one place that knows who all our users are. Facebook has a database somewhere that knows who all their users are, and so does. So for example, like all the games that we've been building previously, tic-tac-toe, number guessing game, rock, paper, scissors. Yes, we could have stored data locally, but when we go to that website on someone else's computer, that data does not exist. That data only exists on one computer. And that's what the point of an API sort of is. It can do many other things, but that's a oversimplification. And towards the end of the course, we're going to be working on our individual projects. Okay? At that time, CoderSchool, we're going to be giving you guys a lot more individualized help. At that time, a lecture will not be as long, and it'll be a lot more about self-work and working on your individual projects. Okay, so we believe that it's important to show you guys what you guys are getting at. Why you guys are here. By the end of the class, we need everyone here to have some good portfolio projects by themselves as well as with their team. Because no one here is going to build an application by themselves unless, no one is, man. I can't think of a single company that only has one developer. Every developer has to work with someone. So we're going to need to work well on our group projects, as well as show off our individual skills. Also, practice speaking and explaining your projects. That's super actually. Asking good questions, I've come to realize, in my personal opinion, that is a part of explaining ourselves. So, like we have this idea of how we believe some code should work. We should be able to say that in as little words as possible, or as concisely as possible. The objective here is not to say little words. The objective is to communicate our goal as quickly as we can. So that's what practice, I feel that that's what we mean when we want you guys to ask good questions. Okay? Because one day you guys can go talk to your boss, and that dude's gonna be super busy, or that girl's gonna be super busy. And yes, they want to help you, but they have a lot of other responsibilities. And when we take 5 minutes of their time, we need to make that 5 minutes very, very impactful. We need to go ahead and show them the console log. When we have a bug, right? We say, I expect this data right here. Okay? I'm getting a number or a string. I'm parsing it, but this result is coming out. I hope that in the future, whenever you guys have bugs and you guys ask for help, you guys can say stuff like that. On line 46, I called the API, I got the response back. I parsed it. I expected this result and this behavior, but it did not happen. This is the behavior I'm observing. That makes it much easier to support you guys. Not only us as teachers, but the rest of your team in the future. Okay? Just think about whenever you guys get asked questions. It's always good to know what line number, what the expectation is, and what the behavior that we're seeing is. And the last thing we're going to do is run one final capstone project. This is our own project, guys. We can build whatever we want. I know that you guys are going to want to build stuff we haven't covered in class. That's a part of what it is. And we're going to be here to help you guys out. CoderSchool is going to have a lot of resources allocated to you guys, and we're going to build something beautiful. So the end of next week, we'll start with interview prep and organizing your portfolio, as well as talking about key points on each project. What was it that made each project work? How was this one different than the previous one? What was required? As well as practicing some technical questions. Just giving technical answers. Okay, so let's talk about today's interesting project. We're going to learn how to build modals.
Can I jump in for a second? So before we get into today's project, we had a few people who didn't submit their homework. So if you haven't submitted homework, so that's Phil, Ray, Vietnam. Here's not here. So this homework requires you to have submitted the previous homework. So if you haven't done that, you're not going to be able to work on this project. So the plan, I think the plan is like we'll talk about this project. For those people who didn't get done with the project, we'll have to split them off into a separate group. You guys can just work on getting through the homework today.
Okay, so this could be done really quickly, what we're doing today. We need to submit this IMDB homework so we can move forward and click add a modal.
Like Thursday? But it's not updated one, so I'll send it.
Sorry, you guys were. That's my old copy. Sorry, you guys on blast.
I'll send a new one though, just because it's updated.
Okay, please update. Yeah, yours is 4 days. You guys are both 4 days old.
I don't like that, guys. We should have been working on this the weekend. Has it been 4 days since we worked on this, right?
Well, it's not that I haven't worked on it, it's that I haven't updated it.
Okay, I got you. Nice. I like the fact that this one has some explanation, some screenshots. I would really like additionally a link so I can play around with it.
All right, cool. Noted.
Okay, so
He did a good job with that.
who here knows what a modal is? You guys all know what a modal is?
What?
A modal?
Mogul.
Modal. Okay, so we're gonna talk about this. This is what a modal is, guys. Many websites have this behavior where you see some content, right? And then you click a button and you can see additional content so that you can know whether or not you want to click the most important button that takes you somewhere else. So a modal is where we click something and then we have a pop-up. Why is this working? Oh man. Oh man. We got a problem, guys. All right, localhost 2. Why is this working? Okay, guys, we're gonna debug together. Movie card. So a movie card has an on-click. Let's see, guys. We have a problem right here. I'm expecting that whenever we click trailer here, we should see a modal. What? Can you guys help me debug this? What should I do? I want to confirm, like, what would be a good starting? I want to see whether or not, I think checking a function to see whether or not, yes, we got to see whether or not the button works first. Okay, I don't see a trailer here. Trailer. What I typically like doing is just searching the entire, if I see a word right here, a hard-coded word, I can just search the entire project. So I can see right here that our trailer button, okay, so this is where it is right here, on-click movie. Okay, so this button right here, let's test to make sure. What's the color, guys? Give me a color, Ray. Red. Type in red right here, we refresh. We can see that this button has in fact changed. Okay, so what's the next thing we can do? Now we need to confirm whether or not this button has gotten clicked and see whether or not we have a on-click event listener, on-click attached. I can already see the problem. The problem is that the div has the on-click. The div here has the on-click. We need to have this on the button. So we'll go ahead and delete this div, refresh, and that doesn't work. Okay, so we need to try something else. Let's go ahead and delete this right here, this function call, and we'll do console.log test. Refresh. Okay, we can see that the on-click on the button works. It fires. Okay, so now we need to figure out how to get this movie card to register the click event and fire our function. So in our app, in our parent component, app.js, eventually we end up rendering a bunch of movie cards right here on line 183. We pass it a function called onClickMovie, and that calls the function this.onClickMovie. So let's go ahead and do a console log onClickMovie, save it. And once again, guys, what are we doing on line 184? What's all this in the middle here doing? We're passing properties to our movie card component. So let's just say class day. Let's pass a new property. We'll call it class day. And we'll say, what day is it today, guys? It's Monday, right? That's right. So now, when our movie card renders, we can console.log. What do we call it? We called it class day. Okay. So we have a new property called class day. Class day. Okay, we refresh, and we can see that this property rendered a bunch of times, because every single time our movie card component rendered, this function, or this line 31, this line of code on line 31 fired, and it was given this property Monday. Okay, right here on line 184 on the right, Monday. Okay, let's just see whether or not we have an on-click as a property. Okay, so we do in fact have this function. So why is this not firing? Whenever we click this button, why do we not see this firing? We have a problem, guys. Render click movie. Movie ID. Interesting. Let's console.log this entire fetch request because we don't want our function to fail. We just want to see whether or not the console log on line 173 on the right fires. We need to make sure that the parent component, the app.js, the function that we pass to the child movie card, can successfully fire. So we'll refresh, we'll click. All right, so we see that the onClick movie app.js line 173 has successfully fired. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take it one step further. Let's console log or uncomment line 175 through 179, and let's just see what our results are. Results, and we click it. Okay, so we can see that the results is undefined. Right here, results.length is undefined. So results is undefined. So why is our result coming back undefined? Let's go ahead and console log our response. We'll check again. So our response came back, and it doesn't look like what we want. Jason. Here's the response. We need to parse it. Say again? What's wrong with the URL here, Charles? Okay, let's think about this. You don't think the movie ID is right? Oh, right, yeah. Okay. My bad, I hard-coded. So, we figured out that the what's wrong here, guys? What's wrong here? The argument to the onClick movie function call is a hard-coded string. We need this to be dynamic. We need this to match to be with every single movie inside of it. So we switch it back to movie.id. We refresh. Let's go back. Let's test again. The Godfather. Click read or read. Ah, there we go. So now I'm not really sure why it wasn't working a second ago, to be honest with you, because I did work on this weekend. This is Charles talking to me.
What can I do? What is it? Spend time with your family?
Sorry, you guys can't hear that. So you guys can't hear it.
Good. Because a man who doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man.
Okay, so back to the original point. This is a modal. This is a very common pattern. Typically, modals pop up. They show us some additional stuff. They give us some additional options. Maybe deleting a Facebook post is like this. Maybe commenting on a Facebook post is like this. Many applications will do this. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and do a lab walkthrough where we go ahead and do this. Who wants me to build this on their website, on their application? Anyone? Okay, I'm going with Jay. Her hand was up firstest. Yeah, she's first. Okay, so we can see that 17 hours she was working on this. Let's go ahead and do what, guys? Let's clone it. Just gonna move out of here. We're gonna move into our homework. Okay, we're gonna git clone. Yes, right now, guys, we can just run git clone the URL of the repository that we want. But because I have a bunch of repositories that I need to copy, I'm going to change the name. Okay, I'm going to change the name. So right now we can see git clone the URL, and then the very last command line argument. Is this a command line argument, Charles? Right, movie. So movie dash, and then J. This is the last command line argument. I can name this whatever I want. We can name this whatever we want. Guess what the folder is going to be called when we type in ls? Correct. So I see that we have movie J. So we're going to cd into movie J. Okay, everything looks good. You can see that we now have a git. Do git remote -v. You can see that we're comparing ours to Alberta Win. All right, so let's open up our code editor. And let's see what we have so far. Oops. I know, but I want to see what she has on master. Oh, so we can't start the server now. What do we need to do, guys, when we clone the repository? Yes, we need to run npm install. This will look at our package.json, and it'll say, hey, man, go get all the stuff that, that this project needs. That's all we're doing. And we're going to get specific versions of the libraries, because our libraries are constantly changing, guys. Every single day, there's some person who wants to make the next pull request to Bootstrap and put it on their resume. Every single day, there's someone who's trying to do this. They want to add Bootstrap to their resume, that they worked on that. They want to add React to their resume. So there are going to be many, many different versions. Okay, so everything seems to have run. So now we can run npm start, and I expect this application to load. Come on, baby. Okay, so we got Terra Movies app. Let's look for Marvel. Haven't done this one yet? Okay, so there's a little bit of animation. It's kind of good. I like the dark colors. Is this a different poster? I remember I used the poster, but it wasn't this long like this. Okay, yeah.
That's what she was saying.
Okay. I wasn't listening. Okay, good job. Looks beautiful. We could do a little bit more, but slow and steady, right? So the objective is that when we click on this right here, that something happens. What, guys? We have a pop-up, and that pop-up plays a movie, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the lab. Oh no. Sorry, sometimes I'm spacing out. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go with React Modal, okay? We can do any one of them. I personally like this one. I was playing around with it. It seemed fun. So we want a modal, so let's go ahead and install a modal library. So we're going to run npm install React Modal. We can see the import statement right here. So we know this is going to go where, guys? Somewhere here in app.js. Render movies. I guess we can just stick it up here. So I like sticking mine at the top. And then we're going to use this. So once again, just like with Bootstrap, guys, let's go ahead and just copy a React modal example. And let's just see whether or not we can get it working correctly. Okay, so here we go right here. Here's their example. Is this it? React modal? This looks right. Okay, it looks right. Huh. Is this documentation out of date? This one says modal. This one says React modal. Interesting. So on their GitHub it says.
Just name it. It's from React Modal.
I think you're fine. I think it'll work. So just go ahead and copy this right here. This example that they gave us. Let's just paste it. And we can delete almost all of these. We'll delete all these. And for the is open, we're going to hard code true just to see whether or not it looks right. Okay? So when we ran npm install, everything looked okay. So let's go ahead and run npm start. Get our server back up. Okay, so modal was not defined. So we need to change this over here to modal. I think we can do this because it's a default export. So now we can see when the page loads that there is a modal here. But that's not good enough, guys. What do we want to do?
Stick inside.
Yes, we want to stick inside something. So we look back over here at our assignment, and we can see that there's another library, a React YouTube library. So we just jump over to our GitHub, and we can see that they have a special command, npm install. So we'll go ahead and run npm install --save at u-wave/react-youtube. We're just getting a library from the internet. We'll go ahead and look at our documentation some more, and we can see an example up here. This is the very minimum that we need. So we'll copy, and then we'll paste it at the top of our file like we always do. And we're going to go ahead and copy this one example here. We'll also stick this inside of our modal because we want the YouTube video to be inside the modal, right? We should not be seeing the trailer without the modal open. Okay, so everything went good. We can run npm start again after getting this library. Yes, to running it on a different port. And I think the problem here is that we need to give our, okay, there it goes, this seems to have worked. So our modal is open and we have a YouTube preview in it. We press play and nothing works. The reason why that is because we look at the documentation of our React modal.
Can you go over just opening and closing it first before you get to YouTube?
Okay. Okay, so right here in the documentation, we can see that in order to open and close the modal, we're looking at a piece of state in our application. What piece of state are we looking at, guys? Yes, exactly. That's exactly what this is. I don't like that name. So we'll just give it a different name. We'll say is open. And we'll say by default that it's false. Okay? We're gonna add this to our state. So now we're gonna say where the modal is, its property that we pass to is open is gonna be this.state.is open. Does that make sense to everyone? So guys, how could we get this to change? The is open piece of state in our application. Anyone, give me a suggestion on how we can change this.
When you click on the button, it'll make it true.
Okay, so that's one way. What code would we need to type? Say again?
Conditional.
Eventually we do need a conditional, yeah.
An exclamation mark at the beginning of the sentence.
Well, this would be give us the exact opposite. So I think what Phil said at first was right. We need to have a button. We need to have some way to understand what the user wants. So if we have a button somewhere and we click it, we can flip the state. So let's just add a button. Oh my God, cannot type. Click me to open button. Okay. And what do we need to add to this button, guys? An on-click event, a property. What are we going to pass to this on-click property? What typically goes in an on-click? A function. Yes, thank you, Ray. And what do we want to do in this function? Well, no. We want to do something with the modal, right? We want the modal to open, right? But what needs to change in our application before we can open the modal? What right now, what on line 67 is controlling whether or not our modal is open? The one thing that is controlling whether or not our modal is open is the is open piece of state in our application. By default, the is open is set to false. So what can we do on line 75 to switch this? Yes, we can say this.setState is open, true. Okay? So if we refresh, I expect to see a button. We click it, the modal is open. Because this function fired. On line 75, we had a button. This button had a property attached to it, the on-click property. what was passed to this onClick property, I like to think of it as sort of like an argument to a function call. So we sort of pass the onClick property of our button a function as its argument. This function, when the button is clicked, will fire. What do we do in this function? In this function, we set the state of our app.js is open attribute or state to true. So now let's imagine if we want to close it, guys. What can we do? We can change it to false. Exactly. Guys, how do we typically close modals? Isn't it typically like if you open a modal, there's an X button, that might be one, or if we click outside the modal, right? Or hold on. We click the button, open it. There's usually an X button, or we can click outside the modal to close it, right? So now if we hop over to the documentation for React Modal, we can see that onRequestClose is another property that we can pass it. So this takes study of the documentation. So if we look over here on line 68, we're going to get a new property. We're going to give our modal a new property. We're going to call it an additional function. We're going to call this one an anonymous function right now. What do we want to do here, guys? False. Okay, so we refresh, we scroll down, we click me to open modal, and we click outside the modal, we close. And guys, let's go ahead and confirm, okay? I want you guys to really think about what's going on here. We're gonna go ahead and console log everything. This state of app.js, this.state, okay? So let's think about this one more time, let's take it slow, okay? The application loaded. We cleared the log so we can be concise in what we see. If we click me to open modal, what do we see here, guys? The state of app.js. Why do we see this, guys? Because when we click that button, our application state changed. When our application state changed, the application rendered again. Thus, after we clicked that button, line 47 through 49 executed, and then we saw the new state of the application after we set it. So we can see here that active page 1 is open to true, is loaded as true, and we have some data with movies. A bunch of other pieces of data. That's all it is, okay? So now let's be careful, okay? Let's think about this one more time. When we click outside of here, I expect we will see that fire again. Okay, so we can see now that when we click outside of the modal, our application state is open, is set to false. Thus, the modal is no longer showing. There's a whole bunch of more complicated behavior we can add here, guys. We can have animation in, animation out. We can have it slide. We can have it grow. We can have it shrink. There's so many different ways to do this. But this is the most simplest version of a modal. Do you have any questions, guys? No? Okay. So, now what do we got to do? Oh yeah, so now the objective here is to get a trailer for each movie. Let's pretend that we spent some time studying the MovieDB org API. Let's pretend that we studied, okay? We did this together. It wasn't just me last night. So we search for movie. We can search for trailer. Oops. No. API? Get movies? Movies? I need help. The movie API DB, this one right here. I have two what?
API documentation. Inside the API documentation.
What green link? What green? This one? This one?
No.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys. You guys understand this documentation better than me. Thank you. I'm serious, man. I don't remember all of them. Okay, so what are we looking for, guys? We're looking for trailers, right? Movie? Get movies? Is there a trailer here? Video? Video here is a Boolean. Get videos? Let's do get videos. That's what it is, okay? All right, so it's get videos, guys. This API provides us a link to a video. And what do we do, guys? We can just see that it's just a get request. This get request goes to the /movie/movie ID/videos route. So what do I like doing, guys? We gotta test this bad boy. We gotta test this before anyone asks us to, because if it doesn't go right and we complain to our API team, what are they gonna ask us to do? They're just gonna test it. That's the first thing they're gonna want. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and paste all this up here. We're gonna delete all this because we don't need this. What route are we looking for, guys? What do I do here? Okay, so let's go ahead and change this. We're going to movie. I don't want to sort it. Does that look good? What's one more thing that we need to change, guys? We need to change our movie ID.
You're missing the question mark.
Yes, and we need to do that. So we need to change our movie ID. How can we get a movie ID just to test, guys? We can simply look at our state, right? So if we look at our application, because we console logged over here, we have all our movies in this key. And then we look at some of these movies, you know, we can look at all types of information about these movies. So if we look at each movie object, what do we have here, guys? Every movie object does have its own ID. So we can just grab this ID, oops, grab it, paste it in the Postman, and I expect we should get some good data back. So it's send. And we can see that Postman gave us back a 200 response code. And what is our results right here? We can see that we have some interesting stuff, right? It's some additional data, ISO, key, name, site, size, etc. I specifically know that what we want is the key right here. We want the key right here. So to experiment, right? To experiment, we're just going to test. So this movie was Captain Marvel. Okay, this movie was Captain Marvel, right? So what we can do is inside our YouTube, we can give it the key. Inside of our YouTube component that we downloaded from the internet, we can give it an additional property. And I know this from reading the documentation. If we look over at our documentation, is it key? Video, it's called video. So right here on video, this argument, this string right here will change. So it's hard code 1, save it, and let's see what happens. So we refresh, we scroll down, we click me to open button, and we can see that the correct video played. Yeah, see that? All right, so let's style it a little bit so that we can really be confident it works well. Height is equal to 100%. Hold on, let me cheat. I forgot how I did this.
Time flies.
All right, so we're just gonna make our YouTube, guys, we're gonna make our YouTube component 100% of its parent. That's what we're doing right here on line 75, 76 to 77. All right, so let's test one more time. Okay, so that looks good. All right, so what's the next step, guys? How can we get this to change every single time for every single movie that's clicked? What have we done so far? So far, we've had a button. The button that we click, if we click that button, it updates, it opens the modal. But inside of this modal, we need this video argument to be different. And this, we can do a function. I think we could also just look at state right here. We can do that this.state.selected movie ID. Let's call it that right there. What else do we need to do now? Well, we need to add some additional behavior for each and every single time we click on a movie, okay? So we're gonna copy this line right here, the is modal open, the set state to that, and we're gonna change it. What we want is for each time we click a movie, for that movie to open. And I can tell right now by looking at line 61, this component, render movies, is going to be responsible for rendering each movie. That was a good name choice. So we're gonna pass it an additional argument. On click movie equals, what do we want in here, guys?
Please open feature a function.
We want this to be a function. We could have done it this way, right here, but we're gonna need to change a couple different pieces of state. So I don't want to do this way now, guys. I want to just go ahead and name a function right here. On click movie. Okay. So now we can define this function above our render. Movie ID console.log clicked. Hey. Okay. So this looks good. Now we need to go into our render movies function component. And what are we gonna do, guys? On click. I hope this works. This dot props dot. Dude, I cannot type right now. This dot props dot on click movie. Okay. So I expect whenever we click something, we should see what, guys? On click movie, we should see clicked. If we click on this card and this function fires on the on click event listener, the property, this should fire. Just refresh, let's click a movie. And we can see that when we click on a card, it does in fact fire. And it's not just one card, it's every single card that we click on, we can see this happen.
Anywhere in the card?
Any card, because every single card,
No, I meant like anywhere in the card.
anywhere in the card as well. I'm just doing this really bad right now. I don't think we should click on the card, because maybe when we click on the photo, we should see a larger photo. When we click on a button that says trailer, then we should see the trailer. Okay, guys. So what have we gotten done so far? Our app.js component has a piece of state called is open. This is open piece of state controls the behavior of a child of our app.js. The child, Modal. When the state changes, Modal will show or not show. Inside of our Modal component, we have another child, the YouTube component. When the YouTube component shows, it looks at a piece of state called selected movie ID. Okay, it looks at a piece of
Can
state.
you show me where that is? Like already?
We haven't used it yet, so we're going to do it right now. So now, because we want the YouTube video to change, now we're going to implement this. So we'll add it right here, and we'll say it's no. Okay. Say no. Okay. So now, what do we want to do on our on-click movie? We want to do this dot set state. What were we doing a second ago when we click on a movie? What do we want to have happen, guys, when we click on this? We want to have the modal show, right? So do this dot set state is open is equal to true. Okay. What else do we need, guys? We need to update one other piece of state here. Yes, we want to update this selected movie ID here. So we're going to copy this here to the on click. We're just going to put in something just to test it. Okay, so remember a second ago that this string right here, this string on line 49 came from Captain Marvel. Okay, so we test one more time. We refresh the page. We click this Captain Marvel. We see that the preview for Captain Marvel works. Okay, but now what happens when we click on Chernobyl? Also Captain Marvel. So how can we make this better, guys? What do we need to do? We need to update the state of our application on line 49 as an argument. We need to use this argument movie ID and stick it here. Okay, so how's that going to work? So on the right, on our render movies, Say again? Yeah. I know. But right now we gotta figure out how to get the movie ID. We gotta figure out how to get our movie ID from the child render movies component to the parent app.js. Because this component right here, render movies, has an understanding of its what ID that we're dealing with. This.props. We refresh. We can see that each time this renders, we have the movie inside the child, guys. The child knows what movie it is, and we need to get this child's data to its parent. So if we look at this props, we can see that the ID is right here. The ID is in each object. So we can pass this ID to its parent. This.props.id. Okay? And then we can pass that as the argument to this function call. But what's going to happen if we leave it like this, guys? What's going to happen if we leave line 23 the way it is? If we save it, we refresh right here, we can see that this keeps calling immediately. Oh shit, it happened way too many times. The reason why this is because the anonymous function that has a function call that has an argument, we need to make sure that we put a fat arrow syntax in front of it, because we do not want the function to fire immediately. Okay? We do not want the function to fire immediately. That's all this fat arrow does. So we refresh, and now we can see that the function does not fire immediately. Yes?
When do you know when to put that?
Well, so for example here, you guys are probably going to run this. So if I save it right now and then refresh, we see that it just keeps firing, right? When we know how we know when to put this here is like this, right? No, it's if there's an argument. So right now we can see, this is very difficult. This is very hard to read. So we can see that our onClick has what as its argument? Has what? No, onClick, what is inside of the... Yeah, it's a function, right? This function right here has an argument. Because we have to give it an argument, that means we have to do that. If we pass it just like this, because it did not need an argument, then we wouldn't have to do the fat arrow in the front. This takes a little bit of practice. You'll get the hang of it. Okay? You'll get the hang of it. So because this has to have an argument, we give it a fat arrow at the beginning. We save, and then let's do one more thing. Let's look at app.js. And let's look at onClick movie. Console.log. Movie ID. I click it. Did that not work? I don't see the onClick movie. Oh, there it is. When we clicked the card, we called the function that we passed to that card, the onClick movie. The onClick movie function is defined where? It's defined in the parent of the card component, app.js. This function fired, and we set state to this thing right here. But that's not actually what we want to do, guys. What do we want to do here?
Selected ID to play.
Yes, that's exactly what we want to do. And I don't know if that's actually 100% right. But is that right? Movies. Which key did we use a second ago, guys? Was it ID?
Yeah.
Video.
Yes.
Okay, we use ID, and what do? We called an API, right? We called this API right here. That's right. So let's go ahead and paste it here, and then comment it out, just to make sure we understand. So now, guys, how can we call this this API to get the list of movies? I'm gonna call the API on line 49. How can we call it?
Fetch.
Yes. We do fetch, like that. Then we say const response equals. Okay. Is this good enough though, guys? What do we need? What else do we need to do? What do we need to do right here? We need to pass in the movie ID to this URL, right? So we click here, we delete. What are we gonna do here? We're gonna stick our movie ID into this route. Okay? Now we can parse. JSON data equals response dot JSON. Does this look okay, guys? We're missing something.
Yeah, return JSON data.
But we're missing something before that though. What's gonna happen when we do console.log JSON data? Let's just try. Let's save it. Let's jump back over here. Let's click one. We see that response JSON is not a function. Why is that? Let's look at what the type of JSON data is. Let's just look at what type response is, okay? Response, type of response. What do you guys expect to see? Let's refresh. I expect to see promise. Scroll up. Oops, an object. This object is this is a promise object. The problem here is that the code is moving too quickly, guys. We need this to be an asynchronous function call. Okay, we forgot to do that. So let's go ahead and add async up here. We'll do a wait right here. And I expect it to work this time. So when you save, refresh, click. This time it works. JSON data correctly worked this time, guys. Because we made sure that JavaScript understood that it needs to wait a second before it continues. So our JSON data has some results, and this results object has a bunch of data in here. And in each one of these is a different trailer. The results here is a list of movies. So what do we want to do, guys? We can see that results is an array of 26 objects here, guys. Is every single movie going to have 26 movies, trailers attached to it? No. There's no guarantee. By looking at the API, we understood this. So at this point, we need to randomly select one of the elements inside of this array. That's one way of doing it. I think that's the best way, in my personal opinion. If some movies can have 5, some movies can have 10, some movies can have 26 different trailers, I don't want to hard code the first one every single time. That sounds boring to me. I want to randomly select one of the trailers and show them. I think that might be a good response. So we'll do JS, randomly select from array. I don't remember this command. I swear to God, I've Googled it so many times in my life. It's okay to Google, guys. Okay, so Google came through again, man. Thank you. So I'm gonna go ahead and paste this right here. And what's the thing that we need to change, guys? It's not my array. It's JSON data. JSON data. Oops. JSON data. Dot results. Okay. And we'll do the same thing here. Okay. Then we'll say this. Const randomly selected movie object. I'm doing this clear so you guys can really long so you guys can understand what's going on here. Okay. We're gonna update this console log. We'll save. We'll hop back over our application. We'll test. Okay. So I expect now whenever we click this, we see a console log that says randomly selected movie object, and then it has a movie object for us. So we click it, and we got it undefined here. That's interesting. Click it. So we got an object. What do you guys think happened on this line right here? There's no what?
No. Is one of them?
Really close. I think Ray was probably the closest. This movie right here does not have a trailer. When we call this API, movie/movie ID/videos, one of the movies did not have any trailers to it. And that's why I tested again on the second one. The second one, we can see that let's just think of a famous movie, okay? Godzilla. You guys think this one's gonna have a trailer? I think so. Click it, and we randomly selected a movie trailer. Let's go ahead and just look at console.log. Let's just prove that this changes from each movie. I'm sorry, sometimes I get ahead of myself, guys. Sorry. So we click this. We can see that Captain Marvel has 26 videos, 26 trailers. Deadwood has 4. Swamp Thing has 0. So our data is not always going to be up to date. Not all of it's going to be the same. This is an issue that we face. Okay, this is a challenge that we face, guys. Okay, so now, what do we have? We have a randomly selected movie object. What are we interested in here, guys? The key. That's exactly what we want. So, we're going to say, as the selected movie ID, we're going to say randomly selected movie object dot key. Okay? And we're going to do one more specific thing. Okay? We're going to make sure we validate our data. We're going to make sure that we have something here. So we're going to say if randomly selected movie object is not equal to undefined, then we'll do this behavior. Why? Because if we do not do this, I should just show you guys. Okay? If we do this on a movie that does not have a trailer, what's going to happen? Something's going to happen. We click it, it's going to complain. It's going to say, oh, we can't call key undefined object. So we need to make sure that we actually did find a movie, right? So that's what the purpose of this conditional is. On line 58, we make sure that this is not equal to undefined, and then we call that. So we save, and then we go back to Swamp Thing, and we click. Nothing happened, right? Nothing happened.
Can we also like put in something like try and catch where like if it doesn't, then there's pop-up.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a bunch of different ways. The try and catch would be a more advanced way, you know, because we might want to say like, oh, this movie has no trailers, blah blah blah. There's a bunch of different ways to handle this. But for this contrived example, I'm just showing you guys that we need to validate our data. Okay, this is we constantly do this. Our API is also going to validate our data. We get data from a client. The client says they want to do something. We need to make sure they're allowed to do that. We can't let anyone do anything they want. This is a part of our jobs. We need to validate our data. So anyway, so now we can see that the application doesn't crash when the user clicks this. But let's see whether or not it works for Captain Marvel. Okay, that looks like that works. And let's see if it works for another movie. What movie trailer do you want to see, guys? Game of Thrones?
Screw Game of Thrones, I don't want to see that.
Oops. Okay, this console log. Okay, this didn't work. If. We gotta fix this right here. So I gotta clean up as we go, guys. Okay, let's try this one more time. Okay, so we got a problem. If, we need to test over here. If JSON data dot results, then we'll set this. Okay? Okay, we need to move this out right here. Let, okay, that looks good. All right, equals, no. Just say no right now. So refresh. Let's try this one more time. Game of Thrones. God damn, dude, why is this not working? Console.log. Why is Game of Thrones failing, guys? Help me out here. Help me out, guys. Game of Thrones, we click it. It's null. So does that mean?
It's not in the movie. This one doesn't have a key.
It's in the TV show. It may not be inside the movie category.
Okay, yeah, that might be it. Thank you. Let's try a different one. Fine. Let's try Avengers. We click it, and the movie trailer was correct. Yeah, see that?
Maybe it's like a different API.
That's probably what it is. Yeah, like
It's
think.
not a movie, it's a TV show.
Fuck, I fucked up. Bad example, guys.
We do movies, not TV shows.
I'm sorry. One more, okay? Guys, one more. We can see that when we click on Aladdin here, guys. When we click on Aladdin here, what trailer do we see?
I'm ready for TV shows.
Okay, when we click on Aladdin, we also see the Aladdin trailer. We'll do one more. I want to prove that this works. Let's do Godzilla. Okay, so it looks like we have Godzilla trailer.
Oh,
Nice.
I've never seen it.
Okay, guys, do you have any questions so far? Is there anything we want to talk about some more?
So it has like you were saying, the Captain Marvel has 26 different movies. Is that right?
20 different trailers associated with this one movie object.
But you're choosing a random one.
I think that's the best way. To me, does anyone else have a better solution? Because some of them might have 4, some of them might have 6. I don't want to do only the first one every time. To me, that seems boring.
Maybe less than 4.
Maybe so. You want to choose one of the first 4? What if it has exactly one movie trailer? What happens then?
Less than 3.
So like I said, there's a bunch of different ways we do this, right? This is where we talk to our API team. On line 51 through 62, all this code, not all this code, 51 through 62. All the code other than line 58 through 61 is validating the data. Because we don't want to pop up a movie trailer if there is no movie trailer. We don't want that when the user clicks it pop up and it says, oh, we couldn't find the movie. Okay? I'm sure you guys have seen a website like that before, where you click on something and it pops up and it says, oh, I couldn't find data. We should try not to do that. Obviously, that's going to happen every now and then. That's going to be a part of our lives, but we should try to prevent that as much as we can. Okay, guys? All right, so that's the lab today. You guys get to work.